Thanks for listening to another episode of PSL On The Mic, the City of Port St. Lucie's official podcast. I'm your host, Maureen Kenyon, and we are here today with Nan Krushinski. I didn't mess it up, did I?
No, absolutely. Perfect.
Yes, I put the emphasis on the right part. Yep. She is our new Special Events Division Director. Welcome to our studio.
Thank you very much. It's beautiful. I love how you decorated.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's gorgeous.
Now, when I say new Special Events Division Director, I truly mean new because we've never had one before, because we've never had a Special Events Division. Brand new, few months old, I believe.
Few months old, yes. I started October 1st, 2024.
Awesome. Fiscal year.
Fiscal year.
And that's why we wanted to bring you in. A completely new division, part of Parks, separate from Parks.
Separate from Parks. The Special Events Department was under Parks and Rec. And as of the beginning of October, maybe even a little bit earlier, they separated. They pulled that out. We're under the city manager's office now.
Okay.
But it is its own division because it is something that they really wanted to put a lot of emphasis on. And the parks is really growing and getting bigger and bigger. And so they had a lot on their plate, and now Special Events is doing a lot of really great and wonderful things. And so it is having its own division now also.
Well, that answers one of my questions.
Check.
But yes, check that off. But before we start, I want you to talk about your past, your experience, all that good stuff, your background.
Well, thank you for asking. I have been doing special events for over 40 years, even though I'm only 39. And so
do the math,
do the math if you want. I started in college. I started booking concerts in college, doing special events in college. When I was still in college, I was working for a concert promoter up in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And so that's where I learned all about the concert business, which was my first love. And when I got to working with an international booking agency in New York City, booked all the big British acts in the 1980s.
When you were still in Pittsburgh?
Right after I graduated, I moved to New York City.
Wow. Okay.
And so they represented David Bowie and Genesis and Phil Collins and Robert Plant and all of those people. And so anyone who was really big in the 80s, who was a British act, worked for this organization. So I learned a lot back then. And then I moved down to Florida and worked for a company, a concert promoter called Phantasma Productions.
Okay, I've heard.
Which is now part of Live Nation. And some of the crew went to AEG concerts.
Okay.
So that was a long time ago, and I started my own company and booked concerts. But so I've always just really been involved with special events or concerts because they really kind of dovetail together. And usually when you have an event, you have a concert, you have a band, you have some kind of music, you have some entertainment, and doing sponsorships and things like that. So I've been doing it a long, long time. And I've worked for different municipalities and, I've worked for counties, I've worked for cities. And I was really fortunate to be able to have this kind of the career that I have. I've met a lot of really great people. I've met a lot of great bands. I've learned a lot about different events and parades and things like that. And then I ended up back down in Florida about 5 or 6 years ago and worked for another municipality. And
what brought you to Port St. Lucie?
Well,
besides the job opening, what did you like about it?
It was really a great job opening, and I was very excited. And when I heard it was the 5th largest city in Florida, that was really, really exciting. And to be able to kind of help build this department, it was for me a great challenge. I've been doing this for so long, and just to be able to kind of put my experience together with these really great existing events and just going to be able to take them up a notch and really do some new exciting things with this city that was growing, is still growing, leaps and bounds. I mean,
it's not going to
stop. There is no end to it. I mean, it's really just going to be just fantastic. I mean, the plans that are in the works, just the next few years, people are going to be so thrilled of what's happening as far as the growth in the city and now the events that we're going to be working on. Some new ones, we're revamping some old ones, and just making them vibrant and different. And we want people to be able to come to an event and not say, "Oh, I've already been here. I've already seen this. I've already done this." Well, you might know the title, but I want you to be able to come back and say, oh, wow, oh, that's different. Oh, I haven't seen that before. Or that's a unique, interesting addition to an event. You still have your favorites, things that you like about an event, but you'll also be able to see new things. Or if you've come from other cities, which a lot of people have, that they'll say, oh, I remember seeing that up north, or I remember seing that in this other city out west, or wherever you've come from. That brings these other elements that make it different and unique and maybe hopefully more exciting for you to come back and tell your friends.
And with your background and your experience from Pittsburgh, New York, coming here, I think it's super exciting. So to have somebody like you here, so I can't wait to see what's going to be happening. But I've already seen changes at some of the events. There's been even name changes. What have those been, and are there any that you can kind of tell us a little bit about for other ones that are going to be happening?
Well, one of the ones that's upcoming is the what we're now calling the Port St. Lucie Irish Festival.
Yep.
So it was just called St. Patrick's Day. And what I wanted was it to be a little more defining. Let people know where it is and let people know what it is. Now, we are also going to honor what I like to call our Celtic cousins, because it's not just the Irish, it's the Scottish and the Welsh, and everyone's involved. There are 7 Celtic nations.
Thanks for including all of us.
Yes, absolutely, right? Well, I come from that too, right? I have a mixed blend.
Me too.
And there are a lot of there's a lot of crossover. Hardly anybody's just one or the other. Typically, we're a melting pot, as we've often been told. And so this year, one of the things we're doing is, well, we're making it one day instead of 2.
That's a good idea.
And we're bringing in Highland games. And so the Highland games so that's the Scottish element of it. And the Highland games, if people are familiar, are the caber toss and the sheaf throw, and not the sheep, the sheaf. So it's a sheaf with an F. It's a big sheaf of wheat that they take and they throw. See, it's so these are all these games that in ancient Scotland they used to do is they called them heavy games, and so they tried to show that they were more manly than the next guy, right? I'm the strongest. I'm to this. I'm to that. And these are a lot of things that they had. Like they didn't have. They had wheat and they had a pitchfork, so that's what they used. Or they had stones, so they tossed stones. Or they had wood, or they had big trees, and so they trimmed them down, and that's a caber. Caber is basically it would look like a large telephone pole. Okay. But it's a big log, but it's a huge log. It's probably 10 foot long or longer. I can't spell it. And they lift it, and they have to flip it end over end. Okay. And
so as lengthwise.
So end over end to see how far they can get it. And so historically, that's what the Scots had to have their athletic games with. So we're bringing some of that. We want, for me, I want it to be very cultural. It's not about green beer and leprechauns. It's about the culture, and it's about why things. What are the symbols, and what do they mean, and why they're important, and the music. We're bringing in a band from County Donegal called the Screaming Orphans, and there are 4 sisters from County Donegal, and they're fantastic. They've toured all over the world, and the harmonies, as only any families can have, they're delightful. We're bringing in Rory Makem. Rory Makem is the son of Tommy Makem. If you know anything about Irish music, Tommy Makem they call him the godfather of Irish music. Oh. He was in the Clancy Brothers and Tommy Makem. They were on the Ed Sullivan Show. They inspired the Clancy Brothers. Tommy Makem inspired Joan Baez. They inspired Bob Dylan. They inspired a lot of those folk singers because they kind of brought folk to bear. They worked with Pete Seeger. They worked with these Woody Guthrie. They were contemporaries of these singers, and so they inspired these next generation. Tommy Makem had a party. He had a bar in New York called the Irish Pavilion, a pub, and at the party was George Harrison, Bob Dylan. I mean, these people just came to sit at the knee of Tommy Makem because. Wow. So this is the next generation, is a gentleman named Rory Makem. So for me, that's what it is, about educating the next generation of like just the next generation of what Irish culture is about, or
Yeah.
what the German culture is about, or what our international fest in November, what these nationalities are about, that they don't just die off, and they're not just something you read in a book. You're living, you're breathing it, you're tasting it, you're hearing the food, you're hearing the music, you're seeing the dancing, and that's what's really important. That it's just not some kind of generic thing that it's
Green
something you can
clothes
teach.
and beer and
Right.
yeah.
Leprechauns and green
Yep.
beer, right? We're not going to have green beer. We're going to have the real stuff.
real thing.
The real stuff, right? And the real Irish whiskey and the real, right? So that you can really know what it's, the real Irish food. So you can know what that's about, and it's not something you've read in a book. You can live it. And then you spend time with your family at these events so that, your granny can tell you about the stories of her granny
Yeah.
or whatever. So that these things pass generation to generation.
And which day is it this year?
It's going to be March 15th.
Okay.
So it's typically the Saturday before St. Patrick's Day,
Right.
which is March 17th. And that falls, unless it's on St. Patrick's Day, which
Which
is
it
the
won't be
second.
for a while
It
now.
won't be for a few years. So.
So this is a nice segue into what I want to chat about next. Our community is very diverse. We're one of two like culturally integrated cities in the country, according to a survey from a few years ago. It's really important to us. How important is that to you, and how are we going to be doing that from in the future? Well, you just explained a little bit.
Well, right.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. I think it makes the events very interesting because you can bring a lot of elements in. You get to meet a lot of your neighbors. You get to hear, you get to learn, you get to see what everyone else is doing. I'm very, very excited about the International Festival, which is in November. We're bringing, I think this past year we brought in 22 or 23 different nationalities. They're either in food or in dance or song or music.
The wardrobe, cultural
The whole-
wardrobe we had inside.
Yeah, the whole wardrobe piece
Yep.
inside, the arts and
beautiful.
arts and experience inside. So there was probably even more. There were probably close to 30 or more. And so with that, working with communications and with special events to collaborate on these events, and we've barely scratched the surface. I've already identified 3 or 4 different nationalities that are thrilled to come and be involved with our event.
Good.
That we haven't even touched. And just to keep either growing it or rotating them or seeing who else wants to be involved. Because, again, the more we can learn about other people's
Yep.
culture, the better we get along. There's a little bit more unity. There's an acceptance. And if we're kind of stuck in our own little silos, that doesn't help the world. And the more you get to meet your neighbors and see what they're about and the foods they like, and I know that, like foods are very similar.
Yep.
You can have a pierogi, which is a ravioli, which is a dumpling, which is a lot of the countries all have the same thing.
Yeah.
They all have their type of sweetbreads. They all have their type of whatevers. And there's a lot more that's similar than what divides us. And so when you recognize it, and you go, oh, well, that's something like my granny used to make, and their granny used to make, or whatever, you realize that we're not that different.
No, and I love the education part of it. I love that we're adding all these different things to it rather than just, the basic food and drink that we always have. The education part to me is so intriguing. I can't wait to see it. Now I'm so excited about the Irish Festival. I mean,
Right.
I'm always excited because I'm Irish, but
Right.
all
And-
these the bands that you're bringing in, they sound amazing.
Right. And one of the things I'd like to try to do with the International Fest is because which I noticed was a struggle for me, was there were too many things to try. There were too many different foods to
Yeah.
try, and they were big servings. Well, I don't want a big serving of something I don't know if I'll like. So we're going to try to have everybody do a sampler platter.
So great
So
idea.
you for $3, $4, $5, you can try a little sample of this, a little sample of that.
Greek, Japanese, Italian. Yep.
And so instead of
great
spending
idea.
$15 on one thing and not sure if you're going to like it, you could spend $15 on 3 different things and not have invested a whole lot into, I like this, I don't like this. But
And then dumping half of it in the trash can.
and dumping
Yeah.
half of it out because there's
Right.
something about the waste that you want to try it, but you don't want to commit 100% to something that's a really big serving. And so we're trying to do these little sampler platters that might make it a little passport around the world kind of thing.
Yep.
That
It's a great idea.
and it's good for the kids to try. Get them away from just that hot dog and the chicken nuggets kind of thing,
The
right?
American food, yes.
Well, right.
Yeah.
It's a comfort food, but it's
Exactly. What do you like about the job so far?
You know, I know you would ask that question, and there are so many things that I really like about it. I love the people I've met, and one of the things I have found is that the comfort level that I have in this job has hit so much faster than most other cities that I've worked or other jobs that I've worked. Like I feel very comfortable with people, and the people here specifically, so much faster. People are really great here. I love the events that are existing. I love the possibility of the events that we can do. The city, I'm still trying to figure it out. Like I'm still like, oh, let's go. What happens if I turn left on here? Do you live here in PSL? I don't. I still live in Palm Beach County.
Oh, okay.
But every time I drive, I'm like, oh, let's just see where this goes. Let's see where that goes. Oh, look, there's all these cool restaurants, all this, you know. And so I really, I've loved exploring. I've really loved the people I've met. I love the energy. All the departments really have a lot of buy-in for the success of the other departments.
We do.
And that, you don't always see that. And so the fact that everyone wants everyone to succeed because it lifts the entire city up is significant. Because sometimes people, again, get very kind of siloed and, well, it's just our thing. And the fact that everyone wants to see everybody else succeed and wants to help each other out is it's significant. It's significant to feel that.
It's something you haven't really seen before.
I don't see it very often, no. And it's warm and it's welcoming, and I've really appreciated that.
Good. Well, we're happy to have you here.
Right, thank you.
So which event are you looking forward to? We talked about International Fest. We talked about the Irish Festival. Is there another festival or an event that you have planned that you're really looking forward to?
Well, yeah, those two are really top on my list. But the third one would have to be the Festival in Lights, which we're trying to work some collaboration with, which is still in the process. The event itself, you know, who doesn't love the lights, the sparkle, the energy? People are happy. People are in a good mood. Doesn't even matter what your religion is. It's the community. People are just excited to be there, and just being in community. And so that's what is always very exciting. We have a couple other things in the works that I'd be happy to come back and talk to you about at some point.
Please do.
That I can't quite share yet.
I knew we wouldn't be able to talk about some things, but
there's a couple
little teaser for the next time.
There's a couple big things in the works that I think people are going to be pleased with.
Awesome. Why? What drew you to the arts? What do you love most about events and the arts? I know you're a photographer, right?
Yeah, you know, I am a photographer. It's a hobby. Sometimes it's a little obsessive because you start to take pictures and you're like, how many pictures can I take of this bee on the flower? So I try to really focus on things that I know I want to keep, things that are meaningful to me. I like to travel a lot. So I try to take a lot of photos of pictures when I'm traveling. And I now try to incorporate people in them. People that I love and care about.
I know it's easy to take landscapes and sunsets and stuff. And
then you look at them a couple years later and like, what did that mean?
The people?
What was I thinking about with that? But when you have somebody in it, that has some more meaning to it. And I try to get creative. You know, sometimes I have somebody on a bench and then I'll have somebody I know walking behind them like a passerby. And then you're like, wait, isn't that so-and-so behind you? You know, so you try to get creative with it. You know, for the arts, I'm a big, for me, mainly the music. The music really draws me. It speaks to my soul in a way that other things don't. I used to go to an arts festival up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. They have a huge arts festival up there. And my friends and I went, and we're looking at the art. And while I can appreciate it, I don't appreciate it in the depth and the way it should be. And we said, well, you know, music's an art. So we hightailed it to the stages, right? We just went over and said, this is also an art. And so I really try to realize that's my home. That's my comfort level is the music. And with special events, the thing that makes me happiest, especially when I'm doing a special event, and when I go to them, I pay attention differently, is how it brings people together. How, when I'm doing an event, people are making memories. You know, I have a magnet on my fridge that says, you never know when you're making a memory. And I do an Irish festival up north. I've been doing it for 34 years now. I have since passed it on. I have a succession plan. Obviously, I can't do it myself anymore. But people have come back to me and told me they got engaged there. They grew up at the festival and said, someday I'm going to be on that stage performing, and they were. I've had a couple of people come up and say, I've dreamed about being on your stage. And they, 34 years, that's a generation and a half. They came there after their wedding. Like I said, they got engaged there. They announced they were pregnant. I announced 2 of my pregnancies at the festival. So a lot of things happen at those events. You see generations come together. I have my family reunion at our festival every year. And we see other people do that. And you see grandparents playing with kids, and that doesn't often happen.
No.
Not
nowadays.
It might happen in a restaurant or something, but you're constantly being interrupted. But here it's just kind of a very organic way for you to have something in common with your grandparents or your aunts or your uncles or your cousins. And it's just, it's something common. And what I also find is that people get to know other people.
Yeah.
They get to know their neighbors. I was at one of our events, and I was more just kind of sitting back and taking it in and learning about it. And I just started to speak to people who I was sitting at the bench with, who live in the area, and just getting to know them and what draws them and why they are there. And it's easy to make friends when you're at a festival, and sometimes a concert, because you talk to your seatmate on either side of you, and there's not too
You have something in common.
Right.
The same music
you have
you're
that
saying.
common. You have that common bond then, and there's not often nothing I can think of off the top of my head really that can bring people together like that, where depending on your comfort level, that you can reach out and talk to your neighbor and say, oh, what do you think about that? Or what are they doing over there? Or isn't it wonderful to see the grandparents or the parents, or, the parents are swinging hands or they're just walking hand in hand, or they're, it's just a wonderful thing just to know that there's that sense of community and the memories that are being made, and that you can be a part of that.
Yeah. I have a lot of friends who have kids, young kids, younger than 5, and I'm constantly seeing on social media and even through texts with them, hey, we're going to this city event, and everybody just goes together, like 6 or 7 families with their 20 kids, and it's a city event, and that's what makes me so happy. It's not just some private event; it's something that the city is putting on for free, most of the time for free.
For free, right? And that doesn't happen very often.
No.
Right? And you can get an internationally recognized band for free.
Yep.
Right? And you can sit there and just enjoy oh my gosh, the beautiful weather of Florida. We're up north. You've got 3 months you can hold an event, really an outdoor event.
I know, they're getting snow in Pensacola today.
Yeah, I know. But here you have this, right? It's just this, it's really a wonderful, people say, what do you do for a living? And I say, well, I do special events. And they go, you work at that? I go, no, I just, it doesn't feel like working.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's what you want in life. You want a job that you don't feel like is a job. You like what you're doing.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't think of a better job to do. I couldn't imagine doing anything else, to be honest with you.
Oh, well, we're so happy to have you here. I know I've said that several times. Is there anything else you want to add before we jump into our 10 questions? Is there...
I hope people will check out the events again. If you think you've been there and done it, you probably haven't. Now, because
we have Nan.
Well, and we have a really great team. I certainly can't do it myself, and we have this really significant special events team that is up to the challenge and really excited about doing new things. So I really invite everybody to come back. And if you say, I've already been to this event, try to come back. See if it looks different. I welcome suggestions. Boy, I really wish I could see this at that event. Or, hey, I heard about this great band. Send me those recommendations, because I don't know of every band in the world. If you've got a band, or you've got something really great or you saw at another festival in another city, send that to me, because I go to international festival conferences. I go to state conferences. I try to see as much as I can. But, you might say, I saw this really great thing. Please, please, please send that to me. I'm open for all the ideas. We'll see what we can do. Maybe not this year, but maybe next year. it just, again, everything raises the boat, right?
Yeah. And Nan's at most of, if not all, of the special events. So you can
Absolutely.
see her at the special events table. And we have a calendar too, cityofpsl.com/calendar. Every single event is there. Special events from parks to business, everything.
Right.
So it's jam-packed. It's season right now. So I think you could probably find something to do every single weekend.
Absolutely. And I'm at all of them because that's the best part of doing events is actually the day of.
Yep. Seeing everything and everyone having fun and making memories.
That's right. Making memories. Come make memories with us.
Yes. So we always end, everybody knows, with our 10 questions with our new guests. We don't,
Okay.
we don't have the mayor come on here and do her 10 questions again because it's probably the same thing.
Yeah.
Although maybe I should try. Maybe people
new
have
10
have
questions.
new 10 questions. It's just a way to get to know our staff, and we're not robots. We like things too, same as you. You ready?
I am ready.
All
Do
right.
I have to fire them off, or can I have a chance to?
You can think. You can talk about whatever you need to. Favorite food?
This was a hard one, but I have to go with my granny's Irish stew. And we've all tried to duplicate her recipe, but there's something about the love or the Irishness that she mixed into it that we can't duplicate. And I still have memories of hers, and I think I make a pretty good Irish stew. But there's nothing like sitting at your granny's table and having a
Yeah.
big bowl of Irish stew.
There's no recipe anywhere.
No.
She probably did it right from here.
Yeah.
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 It's the way it should be.
That's the way it should be, right?
How about your favorite movie?
I was torn between two.
Okay.
And so I'm a little old school. So I went with Singing in the Rain,
Okay.
Gene Kelly, and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance
Sundance.
Kid.
Awesome.
I've always been a big fan of musicals, and I had a chance to meet Gene Kelly.
Really? I would never guess that.
Years and years and years ago, and that was a highlight.
Wait,
to
I
meet Gene
interrupted
Kelly.
you. You got to meet Gene Kelly.
I got to meet Gene Kelly,
Wow.
and I was probably the youngest person in the audience. And at one point, there was like one of these kind of they showed a video, and then you could go ask Gene questions in the aisle. They had these.
Yeah.
And I knocked people out of the way because I thought I always wanted to meet him, and Paul McCartney. So I don't know if that'll happen or not, but. And I was the first one to ask him questions, got to shake his hand. And,
Wow.
and I said to him, what would you do if you weren't a dancer? And he said he would have been a shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Whoa, interesting. I would have never guessed that.
He was born and raised in Pittsburgh.
Okay, all right.
yeah.
How about your favorite hobby besides photography?
Photography,
Yeah.
yes. Well, my favorite, I love genealogy. Love doing the family
cool.
history. Just it's a lot easier now that we have the internet.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
takes a lot out of. It took me a long time to get there. But it's very relaxing, and it's nice to know where you come from.
Yeah.
It's nice to know where you're. Who the skeletons are in your closet too.
Yeah, right?
Every once you find them and you go, oh, I didn't wish I hadn't opened that closet. But it's part of who you are.
Here's a big one. Your favorite singer or band?
Paul McCartney
Okay.
is my favorite singer in the Beatles.
All right. Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong there. Those are always a good standbys.
Yeah. How about your favorite book?
I really tend to John Grisham
Okay.
books. Those always seem to be the good standbys for me. I like a lot of different types. I like autobiographies. I like biographies. I like really a lot of different things. I like a lot of political intrigue, but John Grisham seems to be my go-to.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
How about your favorite holiday?
That was a tough one. And so I think Easter, when I lived up north, because Easter was the beginning of spring.
Yeah.
And the flowers were blooming, and the tulips were coming up.
It's
and
like
hyacinths.
cool but getting warm. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was really, that just was, I always hope spring's eternal, right? Like I would just know that spring was around the corner and the winter was over.
Especially after that cold winter.
Yeah.
Don't have that problem here, though.
No.
How about your favorite place to visit?
That was another tough one. So I narrowed it down to a continent, which would be, Europe.
Okay.
Europe. So, I've been very, very fortunate to have done a lot of traveling in my life. But I love the French Riviera. I love Ireland. Love London, Paris. So just Europe. Nan, you want to go to Europe? Sure. It doesn't matter where I'm going.
Where you go. Doesn't matter.
I'll go to any of them. I always kind of valued quantity over quality. So I never stayed in one place very long because
Couple
if I had a
days,
chance to go to a bunch of places, I'd rather do that so I could see a lot of places in case I never got back. So I could say I saw a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
How about your favorite dessert?
Banana pudding.
Ooh, no one said that.
Yeah, hands
good.
down. No, there's no other. Everything comes way down the
Okay.
list.
Do you make your own?
I do not. Well, I add bananas, so that's about as...
I add bananas to the pudding.
I add bananas to the box mix with my milk.
Okay, all right.
So I add milk and bananas.
Okay,
so
that counts.
Yeah.
That totally counts. How about your favorite TV show?
I always love The West Wing. Any of those shows that
nice,
are political intrigue, or, I'm watching a lot of those, The Lioness.
House of Cards?
House Cards, any of those, Designated Survivor, any of those kind of political intrigue, those are my go-to first.
The Americans?
I don't know that one.
Oh, you have to watch The
I have to
Americans.
watch that
It was
one.
on FX years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know which streaming service it's on, but you would love it.
Yeah, 24.
80s, Russia, America.
Yeah, any of those.
really
Those are
good.
my go-tos right away.
And last question, your favorite color?
Blue.
Yeah, I figured you were going to say that.
Blue's my, and I love green because of Ireland, but blue, I'll end us with one last tidbit.
Okay.
Blue is the national color of Ireland. Green is not the national color of Ireland. They talk about 40 shades of green, but blue is the national color of Ireland.
So we'll be seeing maybe some blue at the PSL Irish Festival?
You'll see me in blue.
Okay.
I can't speak
That's what
to
matters,
that.
people.
Yes, but if you look it up, it's the, yeah.
Interesting. And a little history education
Yeah.
for you, too,
I got
on
millions
today's
of 'em.
podcast. Nan, thanks so much. This was a pleasure. I couldn't wait to sit here and chat with you, especially when we're talking about a new division at the city, first time ever. So you guys come to our events. They're going to be different now. There's going to be a lot of collaboration and great music and great bands.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.